What's up, everyone? I'm here. It's been a while. We got an amazing guest today, coach of a nationally ranked team in New England, Mr. Jack Conroy. Jack, how we doing?
I'm good, Max. How are you? Excited to be here.
Yeah, dude, I'm doing great. Excited to have you. Pretty big guest, coach of a nationally ranked team, Green Farms Academy. But I know you do a lot more there. You work with the kids mostly every day. You work at the school. So what exactly is your role at GFA, and how does that help you connect with the kids there?
Yeah, so I did physical education here for 8 years, and then after I switched into a joint role with the admissions department and the college counseling office. So I work as the liaison for athletics into both offices in the school, in addition to coaching the team here at GFA, and also being a member of the Connecticut Wrestling Board.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but a question I have, or a question I'm sure most people have, is you're a Connecticut homegrown guy, right? So how exactly did you find GFA and find the coaching position, and I guess find the job originally, if you had the job before the coaching position?
Yeah, so I'm actually an alum. I went to school.
Okay. Yeah,
and I always like to remind people it's Greens with an S, not Green Farms Academy. And I think part of that is my PTSD as an athlete from being here. I wrestled here as a part of a smaller program. We were. I don't think we ever won a duel while I was in high school. And then when I came back from college, I was a little unsure of what I wanted to do. I think like a lot of young people are. I had sort of my first job, but decided to pop in and help out with the team. I said I was going to go in once, and then I showed up every day for the rest of the season. The next year I was the assistant coach. And then the following year, my high school coach, his name's Jeff Morrison. He's a great guy, still a history teacher here at the school. He decided to step down and be my assistant coach, and felt like I should be the head coach. And that was 13 years ago. So I've been the head coach here for 13 years. Took a little while to get the wheels turning here. And I think, one of the reasons that we've been so successful over the last couple years has been investment into USA Wrestling Connecticut. We have a terrific board. I know you were asking about me, but without the work of the Connecticut Wrestling Board and our national teams, almost all of my guys compete on national teams at some point during their high school career. Go to Fargo, participate in the training camp series, work with great coaches like Coach Scott Honecker, and Sarah Jadek, who's our national team, or our state chairperson. And they've really helped grow the region and grow our team, help grow our team.
Yeah, definitely. And, like you said, it was kind of only recently you guys really got the wheels turning for GFA. Like, I remember when I was in high school, you guys, I think your best wrestler was probably Seyfried, one of them. I think Caleb or Griffin. Yeah. I remember I pinned a GFA kid at a Shelton tournament one year. So, yeah, definitely not the same team anymore. And, what do you think it really was that kind of just, like you said, got the wheels turning, got the ball rolling?
Well, and I think I already touched on it, and so I hope I don't sound redundant, but when I first started coaching, one of my first years we had 6 kids on the team, and so it was 6 guys all walked out of the hallways, and so it took a while to gain some cultural momentum. The first couple steps were just kind of taking the kids as they were and coaching them up as well as we could. And then once we did a good job with a couple of those homegrown kids,
the national team process started coming in, getting.
Yeah, I was actually going out to Fargo with Team Connecticut for a couple years without bringing athletes of my own, just getting involved in the system, getting involved in USA Wrestling, and when my athletes started participating, we saw them start to jump levels. And then when they started to jump levels, I think about the Seyfried family, you just mentioned, they were a relocate from New Jersey. Dad was moving up here for work. They were committed to wrestling at a really high level. Their brother was a Division III All-American, and they picked GFA. Around the same time, a couple other kids had decided to pick GFA, and that was maybe 7 years ago. And that started to build a little bit of a groundswell and some of the momentum that we've been able to sustain. So,
and something I'm kind of curious about is, how would you say that your coaching style differs or is similar from your former coaches? Because you said he stepped down to give you the role. So, yeah. Would you say you guys had similar styles or different?
I think the similarity is probably just kind of caring about your athletes. Jeff actually never wrestled in high school. He went to the same high school as Curtis Martin in Pittsburgh. Always wanted to wrestle, but never. Curtis Martin, the famous New York Jet, but he never got the opportunity to wrestle. And when GFA was talking about starting wrestling, he stepped into that role. And so, from like an on the mat perspective, probably very little. But actually, honestly, from a personality perspective, not very little. I think I'm a pretty loud, outgoing guy. Jeff's a pretty quiet, reserved guy. But the biggest thing I was carried from it is he just really cared about me as an athlete. He cared about all the guys on the team. I can remember he had a little like Nissan Pathfinder, and hey, we're going to. I heard about this thing called freestyle wrestling. Get in the back of the car. We're going to go to the freestyle states. I'll never forget when I went to the first freestyle states, maybe my freshman, sophomore year of high school. I didn't know the rules. I didn't know you went to your corner. I didn't have a towel. I thought we were wrestling folk style. Yeah. And I kept being like, why'd they keep bringing us up? So it was a cool experience, and he just cared and was willing to push us and put us outside of our comfort zone, which I think is something I still like to do with our guys a lot.
Right. Yeah, it's important to, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And, it's kind of like in wrestling. You got to get uncomfortable, in those situations where, you got to fight off your back. You got to have some fight in you,
Yeah, we try to do something different every year with the high school team. This year we'll be competing at the National Hall of Fame Duels, which is an in-fight only event in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where we'll be competing against some of the top teams from around the country. Last year, I think we wrestled 4 of the top 5 teams in the country in duels. So, we wrestle a tough schedule. And, for me, it's about, when I was growing up, people always were saying you had to leave Connecticut, right? It was, you had to go somewhere else in order to compete at a really high level. And I think giving Connecticut kids the opportunity to stay home, get that great wrestling experience, compete at a super, super high level, and win at a super high level, and then have access to college opportunity from doing that is really what we're trying to do. Yeah,
no, it really is insane. Kind of not really, Connecticut, but all New England too, just how much good wrestling there is now, on everyone's doorstep. Like you and I were fortunate, we're kind of close to the city. We could just drive down, an hour or 2 to Jersey. But, you think about those people in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, it's like 4 or 5 hours to get to, Jersey or Pennsylvania for them. So it really is.
New England wrestling's really on the come up. I mean, we've been really fortunate to see the level of wrestling continue to elevate. And I think our kids are traveling and competing and doing well at the college level. I mean, look at right now, I think there's 4 New England kids, right, that are ranked in the top 30 in Division I college wrestling. One of our former wrestlers, Peter Kane, is currently ranked number 1 in Division III. And so, in addition to a ton of other kids from the region. And that was something that didn't really exist when I was in high school. There were a couple, I think about some old names that I'm guessing I'd probably be dating myself a little bit. But like, Villaro. I don't know if you remember Villaro. They were Doug and Tim Villaro. They were Southern Massachusetts kids who wrestled at Northeast Elite Wrestling Club in Connecticut, and they ended up. I think it was Dougie ended up at Lehigh. Was a top 10 guy in the country. So that's seeing that level of wrestling elevate is awesome.
Yeah, it's almost common for a few kids to go D1 now every year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kids.
Yeah.
Getting into the meat of it. GFA has always produced a stellar lineup these past few years, and I imagine this year it's going to be the same. So before we kind of go weight by weight, just without saying who's there, which weight class do you think is the most up in the air? Like Russell Loss could go either way.
Oh man, you're really putting me on the spot. Is it hot in here? I think you're breaking up. No, I think we have a couple of them that are going to be pretty highly contested. And the thing we're really lucky about is our guys are good at figuring out the best lineup for the team. Like I'm not a big believer in orchestrating it, So, we're still a small school. Like a lot of people don't realize how small of a school we are. A graduating class here is about 100 kids, which means it's about 50 boys per grade. And we're a super, super high academic school that, if you look at like the kids we've sent to college over the last couple of years, last year we sent 4 kids to the Ivies off our wrestling team alone. And so a lot of our kids are competing at a really high level, but also like, everyone kind of gets their shot. Does that make sense? Like it's very rare that we have a guy who's left out in the cold from a competitive standpoint. So I don't know, maybe somewhere in the middle, like 32, 38, 44. And really, I wouldn't say it's contentious. It's more about just figuring out where guys go.
Yeah. And, that's kind of a good problem to have, because it just means you're deep. Everyone could wrestle. Everyone wants to wrestle,
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. No, and these boys are competitive, and they're not. I would say they're not competitive about the lineup. They work really well together about the lineup, but they want to compete at a really high level, so they want to put the best team out there the same way I do.
Definitely. All right, so getting into it now, do you want to start at 106? Is there a specific weight you want to touch on?
Yeah, sure. Whatever. This is my first interview with you, so I'm, we did that little video last year, which was pretty cool, and so I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah. So 106.
Yeah.
Is Jackson Bailey? He's not 106, right? He's like 120.
So he wrestled 106 at the Iowa preseason nationals a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So we have a couple guys that are littler guys that. We'll see kind of how they shake out. Eli Shea, he also won a state championship last year.
CJ Shea, brother.
Yep. Yeah, the last of the brothers. So we'll see kind of where that shakes out. But one of them will probably be at 6.
Awesome. And then 113, we looking at Mr. Brighton Karvosky again.
Maybe we also have Chase Kastner is a guy who could end up there.
Pick up.
Yeah. So one of those guys in one of those weight classes. Yeah. Brighton Chase 1320, I think.
That's a match that I would pay to watch for admission alone. Brighton.
Yeah, they're fun. They scrap. They get after it, and then I think Jack Francis, Jackson Heslin, probably. It's tricky because we haven't really figured a lot of it out. Like I almost wish we could go down the guys and just sort of talk about each of them. But I think those guys will probably be 32-ish. One of those littler guys will be in the 26 range, 32s, and then 38s probably. You're looking at like Brady Kopp, Joe Mahoney.
Yeah, another big pickup. So is he a senior now, or did he reclass, or is he?
Joe's a junior. Yeah, he's a junior. And Kamani Giles, Harry Kittredge, Brady Kopp, those guys will kind of sort out that 38, 44. Ben Zuckerman, 38, 44, 50, 57. Kind of figuring that out still.
Zuckerman is someone that I'm really excited to see this year.
Yeah, he had a fun summer. Yeah. He had a really fun summer. And I don't want to forget anybody. I'm like, I'm very cautious right now. I'm like,
that's a lot. You're going to hear about it during practice if you do.
I'm sure I will, but there's a lot of guys that are doing a terrific job. I think about, we have a couple of young guys, Will Motley and Rocky Penny, who've been working really hard. I'm going to actually pull up my.
You said Kittredge, I think, right?
Kittredge, yep. But a lot of these guys are really kind of like putting in the work, you know. Thinking about like Blake Watkins somewhere in there. You know, I think that could be that's a cool little section of weight classes. And then 65 that will, you know, 65, 75. I think about Liam Carlin is in there.
Other big addition.
Yeah, with a couple of those other guys. Yeah, I'm looking right now. Like I said, I'm not big on like this is the weights, guys. This is what we are. You know, I mentioned Jeremy McGrath too, I think, right?
I don't know if you did.
Yeah, Jeremy's been having he just had a great match with a top 17 guy in the country, top 15, 16 guy in the country. Went into sudden victory out at the East Penn Duels. So Jeremy, I think, is poised to have a really good year, you know, and then we kind of get into the upper weights where it's, you know, Kingston Daniel Silva, you know, maybe 190, Ryan Schneider 190. We have another kid, Logan Kofsky, who's doing a really good job at 190 around that weight, and then Dom Iaquinto sort of rounding it out.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Did I get everybody?
I think so. You got everybody that I know, I think.
I'm sure I missed somebody.
And then we can't forget
Cale Wilderman. Cale Wilderman will be in there too. Cale will probably be like a 75, 90.
Oh yeah, Wilderman, right?
Yeah.
But also, you know, we can't forget your girls team as well.
Yeah.
Looking, so who we have there? Obviously, Kayla at, you know, probably 106, I assume.
Yep, Kayla at 106. You know, 107 is actually the national prep girls weight. Yeah. You know, she won Super 32s at 106. But so, you know, she can basically go wherever she wants, and she'll be all right.
She could win up to probably like 126, 132 maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she'll be really solid. We're excited about her.
And then are there any other girls coming in? I remember last year you guys had a couple other ones that were pretty solid. I think it was
a couple other girls that are doing a pretty good job. You know, we have this girl, Harry Kittredge's sister, Izzy Kittredge is doing well. You know, and there's actually a couple other guys that you know. I was actually thinking we have a young guy, Jacob Jones. I forgot to mention him.
Oh yeah.
He won Youth New England's last year. You know, one of the reasons he's actually a really good two-sport athlete, so he's playing soccer.
Oh my God, I worked with his soccer coach. And I knew who he was, like, because his soccer coach, his name's Edwin, was telling me, he was like, yeah, bro, I have this good wrestler named Jacob. He said he wrestled for Southside and Bridgeport. I was like, oh, where? And then I just knew who he was. Eventually I talked to you, and I was like, oh, wow, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and and like I said, he's doing really well. So in soccer, so you know he's I'm really I share an office actually with our varsity soccer coach. So he you know, we're right now. Jacob is all soccer right now. I don't know how big he is. I have no clue. So really
I mean, I think he likes wrestling.
No doubt. He's just a really good athlete.
Yeah. He's got choices.
Yeah, for sure. So a little vague, but like I said, we don't really know what we've got until our first duel is actually against Malvern Prep down in Pennsylvania. Malvern's a perennial sort of top 10 team in the country. And then we wrestle a couple good public school teams out of Pennsylvania. And our first duel will be at the Pennsylvania, the PIAA weights. And so we're still
classes then?
Yeah, it's 13 weight classes. So it'll be an interesting one for us.
Hey, but like you said, your guys are all about, you know, working it out for the team. You know, everybody gets in that they need, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, get excited to compete, you know?
Yeah.
It's coming fast, you know? We compete on November 30th, so.
Yeah, oh my God. And then, you know, by the first week of December, you know, there's going to be tournaments going up, you know? It's going to be great.
And we're this is the first time I've ever competed on Thanksgiving weekend, so we'll see how that goes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, kind of getting into probably to me the biggest addition that you had this summer, Liam Carlin.
Yeah.
How did how did that first come about? Obviously, he's a New York kid, so he's not, you know, crazy far away. It's not like, you know, you found him in California. But how did you like first come into contact with him?
Yeah, met Liam, a good friend of mine, one of our former coaches, Jake Fisher. He's a world team member in Greco-Roman. His brother-in-law, Joe Usolini, at Kirby Three Style Wrestling Club up in Troy, um, was Joe's personal coach. And Liam was looking to make a change, was exploring prep options, and it seemed like a good fit. And turns out it was a pretty good fit. So we're
Yeah.
excited to have him, and he's competing at a really high level, and he's just a great kid. We're really excited to see what he can do at the college level, and join one of our former wrestlers at the University of Pennsylvania.
Hmm. Yeah,
Nate
yeah.
Taylor.
Nate Taylor is gonna be fun.
Yeah, Nate Taylor, Connecticut boy.
Yeah, has Nate? Did he wrestle in any opens this past weekend?
No, so they have the Keystone coming up.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm really rooting for him with that one. And then we're excited to see, they have their home opener on November 16th or 17th against University of Northern Colorado at Penn. And so, fingers crossed he gets the start for that one, and
Yeah.
they can duke it out. I'm a little relieved that the EIWA split from the Ivies, because having Nate Taylor and Mikey Bardish at the same Easterns, potentially with an NCAA berth on the line, was going to give me heart palpitations. So
Yeah, dude, that would have been rough.
I'd be like one of those NFL moms with the split jerseys.
Yeah. Says Butler.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny. And like GFA, you guys have some wrestlers with some numbers next to their name on national sites like Liam Carlin, Damian Quinto. But if you had to guess a few of your guys to maybe be the next to earn a spot on those lists, who do you think is right on the cusp?
Oh man, like I was just saying, we were just talking about Jeremy wrestling that really
Exactly.
with a ranked guy, Sudden Victory. And the reality is, I think we've probably got 5 or 6 guys like that. So
Zuckerman definitely comes to mind. Him and Cobb.
Yeah, then they both got wins over guys that are ranked. I think Ben beat that boy O'Keefe last year, who I think is ranked top 10 right now on Flow. So but again, like, we have a lot of young guys. I think about, we had those 2 guys, Heslin and Kastner, plays at Fargo. Karboski's been right there. A lot of these guys are right there. So I would really just refer to the entire list and say whoever works the hardest and competes the loosest is probably going to be the guy that gets up into those rankings.
Yeah,
tell me who you think. You're the rankings expert.
Well, it's funny. I kind of did. I said Ben and Cobb come to mind at first, but then you brought up Heslin too, and Karboski too, who I think is been ranked on Willie's top 100 for the class. But I mean, I would maybe say Heslin just because the Fargo. Then you could say Kastner too. I don't know. Really, like you said, there's 4 or 5 guys at least.
Yeah. And like I said, they're just great kids. This is probably the most complete team we've had in a while. They're just, and I would say they're also the guys that seem to be working together the best. So just in general, I've just been really proud of how they're how close they are. Seems like a good group.
Yeah. And what's a average day in the room look like for this group? Average day at practice, where you're not taking it too hard. You don't have competition for a few days, so you're not going.
We'll find out. We have our first practice on Monday, so we'll see. Like with this new group, it's it's always a bit of a mystery until the season starts. So our first official day is Monday, November 11th. So excited about. I'll stay tuned. Maybe I'll post some practice footage of them.
Awesome. And kind of another question is, like you already mentioned, GFA, great academics. You guys are a nationally ranked program. So how do you deal with, kind of keeping all these high school kids' heads in check, where they got so much going on, they might get full of themselves because they're, on a good team, but they have all these grades to worry about, social life because that matters for every high schooler. So, what's that like, kind of, working with that?
I think culture matters a lot. The reality is like there's a lot of momentum behind what we're doing. There's a lot of support from the school. I've described in the past, GFA wrestling feels a little bit like the football team. I think maybe in some schools, I don't know if you've ever seen like our we have a big home duel in January we call Pack the House. We get a huge crowd, standing room only. Not standing room only. They're just the bleachers get full, so you're probably not getting a seat. And so there's a lot of culture, and there's a bit of a higher standard for all these guys. Is that academics come first. Having a really strong priority list matters, and I think that as a school and as a place, we do a pretty good job of setting everyone in the same direction pretty early on.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it too, that, the school supports it and it supports the team, and that's probably like the most important thing, that the school is such a big helper with that. So
I think also a lot of it is like, I think a lot of times people like to frame it as like my school helps or my school doesn't help, right? My school is supportive or not supportive. And I also think, I don't know, Kevin Dresser from Iowa State.
Yeah.
I heard Kevin Dresser speak, and he was the former head coach of Christiansburg High School in Virginia. And I'll never forget him saying, "You catch more bees with honey." And that when he first became a high school coach, it was like, they're doing me dirty. I should get everything I want, and handing out a couple T-shirts and having a good relationship with your administration can go a long way.
Yeah. And like you said, season starts very soon. Practice on Monday. Are there any what are some specific dates on the calendar that you have circled?
This year's schedule is really going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about a lot of different stuff. If I had to say the thing, I'm probably one of the there's a couple that I'm pretty excited about. One of them is we've been the number one team in preps for a couple years. Ponagansit's been the number one team in Publix. We're going to be dueling them this year. That'll be a fun duel. We're dueling at the National Hall of Fame duels in Oklahoma. That'll be a lot of fun. So just really excited about those.
Yeah, that and don't you that Ponagansett duel, isn't it who's coming? FCA's coming too, right?
Yeah, Faith Christian will be there. Yeah, from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Reigning Pennsylvania state champs, I believe.
Yeah, it'd be good to face the Singer boys, some old Connecticut guys. That'll be fun.
Although there might be more love than beef, just being that they're originally Connecticut guys. So some of my guys grew up wrestling with them and grew up being, their parents are friends, and so the Singers are doing a great job down in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's gonna be good to get them on the mat against you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
So another thing that I wanted to ask you is like, so let's say there is, there's this high school wrestler, public school, they're looking to make the transition to prep. What could a wrestler like that do to get a spotlight on them in your eyes?
I always say, like with independent schools in general, they're sort of designed for kids to reach out, right? So, the biggest thing is go on the website and start filling out an application. I think if someone is interested in making that transition to prep, or is interested in wrestling at GFA or wrestling at any of the other great prep schools that are in the New England area, start filling out an application. Their name will come right across someone's desk and go from there.
Yeah. So really, is that easy? Just no, you don't got to go to any expensive, combine out, in Pennsylvania or Jersey or anything. No,
I think, like wrestling rewards hard work, I think, and just doing the work. Like I've always felt that about wrestling. It's the best part about it. The the shoes, the all that's, it's all sort of meaningless. The number one thing is, do you show up and do the work? And as far as looking at independent schools, part of that work is just filling out an application.
Yeah. Kind of one of like the last things I want to touch on is, you're pretty successful, excuse me, pretty successful coach. So really, what advice do you have to like the elementary school wrestlers who are, who just want to be great, want to keep practicing, want to wrestle for you one day, because there definitely are probably going to be a few watching this.
I would say wrestle freestyle and Greco-Roman, right? Invest in the USA wrestling system. I think it's the best. We have the Olympics. We didn't win the Olympics this year, so I'll give it to Iran. But we have one of the best amateur wrestling systems in the world. We've proven it by winning world championships in the last couple of years. Invest in that system. Join the Connecticut national team when you're a schoolboy. Join the team. This year we had national finalists at U14, cadet, junior, both styles, Greco-Roman and freestyle, girls cadet, girls juniors. We had a really terrific year as a state, right? In our state system. Number one thing is I'd say participate, right?
Yeah, you can't win anything if you don't participate.
100% participate in the international styles.
Yep. Jack, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on?
No, I'd like to say, thanks to you and to, this platform that you've created for New England wrestling. It's very cool. And I really appreciate the opportunity for getting a chance to talk a little bit about GFA wrestling.